for the playoffs. Meet the Miami Dolphins tonight on ABC's Monday Night Football.
ABC's Monday Night Football. Brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. By Citizen, no other watch expresses time as beautifully. And by Radio Shack, the technology store, America's leader in consumer electronics.
Live shot of Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami Beach. Good night for football. But there will be no sellout tonight in Joe Robbie Stadium. Hard times haven't befallen the Miami Dolphins for the third consecutive year. They will not be in the playoffs. Hello again, everyone. I'm Frank Gifford, and welcome to Joe Robbie Stadium, a game with playoff implications, but no playoff implications for the Miami Dolphins. They are 5-9. And this has to be one of the toughest years ever for head coach Don Shula, who will suffer only his second losing season in a 26-year career as a head coach. More so, he lost Mark Duper, an all-pro wide receiver. The NFL's drug abuse policy was set down on Mark Duper a week before last, and he is out for 30 days. And the Miami Dolphins have lost 5 consecutive games. They've lost 6 of their last 7. They are out of it again, as I said, for the third consecutive year. Meanwhile, for the Cleveland Browns, very definite playoff possibilities. They can't win their division, but simply, if they win tonight and they beat Houston next week at home, they will be the wild card, and they will host that first game in Cleveland. And meanwhile, an interesting thing has happened, and a lot of interesting things happen in the playoff scenarios. But should Cleveland win tonight, their arch rival Houston will have won a spot in the playoffs with the fact that they have defeated Miami, and they have won. And, of course, it will also eliminate Indianapolis. So I guess, Al Michaels, we know at least where a lot of our audience will be tonight. They're going to be in Houston, and they're going to be in Indianapolis.
Marty Schottenheimer and the Browns don't want to think about any of this. All they're thinking about tonight, Frank, is beating Miami, beating Houston next week in Cleveland, and then hosting the wild card game. And this is a team that's beginning to feel pretty good about itself, because a month ago we watched them on Monday night lose to Houston. They went to Denver the following Sunday, were blown out, but they've rebounded. They've won 3 in a row. I talked to Ozzie Newsome, very much the heart and soul of this team last night, and he said, we feel very good about our chances. We just don't see a dominant team in the AFC. And the Browns, of course, are a team that has come ever so close the last 2 years of reaching the Super Bowl. So they want a return date in Miami on the 22nd of January. Tonight, however, they're minus their top running back, Kevin Mack, who's been besieged with injuries all season long, is inactive. So they'll have to feature Ernest Biner. So the Browns look for their 4th in a row, but Dan Beardorf, the Dolphins have lost 5 consecutive games as they come into tonight's game, and that's their longest losing streak in 21 years, and this season can't end soon enough for Miami.
No, because, you can say all you want to, Al, about the last 2 games, and this is for pride and character, but that's lip service. It's a lot tougher to do than it is to talk about. And when you talk about the Miami Dolphins, a lot is said about having lost 5 in a row. They've only won 5 games all year long, and they only beat one team that had a winning record, and that was Minnesota 10 games ago. That's how bleak things here are in Miami. There are a lot of good reasons why they're losing. They're not running the football very well. They're not stopping anyone else from running the football. Yet Dan Marino's having an all-star year, about to go over 4,000 yards tonight with the league's #1 passing game. But really what I'm going to watch for tonight, and it's really called frustration. Don Shula's on the firing line down here. The national and local press is after him, wondering about what was his knowledge of the Mark Duper situation. This is a coach under a lot of pressure and a team that's frustrated. And if I'm following the Cleveland Browns, I've got to be concerned that the Miami Dolphins are going to take out that frustration on Mike Love.
And at halftime, Shula will address that Duper situation. So Don, in his 19th year here, 26 overall, in the team's next to last game of the season and their final home appearance. They'll close next Sunday at Pittsburgh. And Cleveland, as we mentioned, goes home to face Houston at Cleveland next Sunday. And the possibility exists they would play Houston again the following week in a wild card game at Cleveland. So the Cleveland Browns, who've won 3 straight, who have won 6 of their last 8 under Marty Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer, you'll recall, saw his quarterback, Bernie Kosar, go down in the first quarter of the first game this season. And then Mike Pagel took over after Gary Danielson was hurt, and both of those quarterbacks were hurt. They picked up Don Strock, the longtime Dolphin, who is now number 2 on the depth chart. And as you can well imagine, in practice this week with the Browns, there was quite a bit of knowledge imparted from Strock to the Browns about the Miami offense. And there is Don Strock in his 15th season and the only other quarterback on the Cleveland roster at the moment. The Browns will receive a little cooler than normal in Miami right now. Very pleasant night, however. Temperature in the upper 60s and dry, and Fuad Reves to kick off. Glenn Young and Herman Fontenot back to receive for Cleveland. Toward the corner and out of bounds, and Cleveland can take it at the 35-yard line. As Bernie Kosar comes out to lead the Browns. They have the option here of a re-kick or taking it at the 35. They'll take it at the 35-yard line. Last week, as you see, 3 touchdown passes in the game against Dallas, a game in which the Browns incredibly did not pick up 1 rushing first down. That's the first time that happened in the history of the franchise. Biner and Manoah start as the running backs. Langhorne and Slaughter is back after 8 weeks on injured reserve, and there is the offensive line. At the 35-yard line, Biner is split to the right, and we'll see him lined up all over. Manoah stays in the block, and Biner makes the catch, and he's tackled at the 44-yard line. He is not only to be their featured running back tonight, he is also the team's leading receiver. For Ernest Biner coming out of the backfield, that's his 48th catch of the year. Turner, Soche, and Klein up front in the Dolphins' 3-man line. The 4 linebackers. Mark Brown comes off suspension, a late hit on Pat Ryan. He was gone last week. Offerdahl having a good year. Green back from an injury. And the secondary, and it's been a problem, but Jarvis Williams, the rookie at free safety, has been a most pleasant surprise. 2nd and 1 from the 44. And this is Manoah picking up a first down, but fumbling. He's been prone to fumbling of late, and he gives the ball up to Miami. He did that against Denver, and he's been sparingly used since because of that fumble. And tonight on his first carry, he costs the ball up to Miami.
And Manoah's fumble previously came on his first carry of the ball game as well. So Tim Manoah, his 4th fumble of the year, and Marty Schottenheimer, I think, will put Tim Manoah on the bench. It may be a while, Frank, till he's back in this ball game, because in this caliber of a ball game, that can't happen early.
Interestingly, you saw in the replay, he had it covered up. I'm sure he was thinking about that Denver fumble. Both hands on it. Somebody just yanked it out of there.
T.J. Turner knocked it loose, and Jarvis Williams recovered.
Miami at the 50.
And on the ground, it's Lorenzo Hampton, stopped for no gain.
Brian Washington comes up to make the stop. Another look now at Manoah's fumble. And you see, Offerdahl is right there taking on the block. Big hole on the left side. Look, both hands have covered up. Offerdahl gets a shoulder in there. And it wasn't that much of a blow, but his ball came out of there, even though he was trying to cover it up.
No, you're right, Frank. That's what will drive the coaches crazy, is that was really a minimal hit that brought the ball loose. You can understand it. When a guy puts his helmet right on the ball with a jarring hit, hey, anybody's going to fumble.
It won't do too much good for Manoah's mind either.
No, that wasn't much.
2nd and 10 from the 50. And a first down on a bullet to Mark Clayton. And with that catch, Clayton now has 73 for the season.
tying his own team mark.
You have to marvel every time, though, you watch. If you're counting in seconds, this is about 2.5 seconds before that ball is released. Not bad coverage, and yet with that accuracy, the quick release, Marino gets it in there.
Just see Mark Clayton with his route, forced Frank Minifield, really making contact with his own man, Brian Washington, who is covering the man out of the backfield. Effective pass route by Miami.
So he ties his own mark set in the Super Bowl season of '84, and it's a first down to boot. Ron Davenport goes nowhere. The other thing that Clayton did was he caught a pass in his 37th consecutive game, and that is a new Miami record. Let's set the Miami offense right now. Led, of course, by Dan Marino. And in a season in which so many quarterbacks have been racked up, Marino has stayed very, very healthy and has not been sacked in over 2 months. Hampton and Davenport, the running backs. Banks takes Duper's spot. Clayton, the other wideout. Farrell Edmonds, the good-looking rookie tight end. And Galbraith, a good-looking rookie at right guard in an otherwise veteran offensive line. 2nd and 9 at the 38-yard line. Marino fires over the middle and simply dropped by Clayton. Right there for him. Felix Wright with the coverage. 3rd down.
Had it really on the back hip. A pass that Clayton ordinarily would have caught. I'm sure he would agree with that. But again, Marino just a little behind Clayton. But again, it's 1, 2, 3, and that ball is on its way. That's why he has not been sacked in 10 games. A tough catch, but one you'd have to say a Clayton will catch.
And get a good look at that, because that was an excellent look at the Cleveland Browns and something other than man-to-man coverage. You saw Frank Minifield lined up on Clayton and drop back into his zone responsibility. I think the Browns would like to see a little zone tonight. I mean, the Dolphins, rather, would like to see some Brown zone.
3rd and 9 with 4 wide receivers out of the shotgun. And Marino goes deep, but too deep for Freddie Banks, the former Brown, who had gotten behind Hanford Dixon. But the pass led him too much, and it's 4th down at the 38-yard line.
He was there, and I'm sure we'll see it again. But what Marty Schottenheimer told us last night holds so true. He knows that to get to Dan Marino is almost impossible. So he's either going to send 3 men and try to cover, or he says occasionally we'll come to 6 and 7 and try to get to him, at least try to hurry him, because no one this year is getting to Dan Marino. Only 7 sacks all season.
For the moment, they line up as if to attempt a 56-yard field goal. Quad Reves.
Oh, he's been taking his vitamins if he makes this.
Yep. Well, we'll find out. It's actually 55 and a half. And he comes up about 2.5 shy.
A little more vitamin D, perhaps.
C and D as well. Dolphins can't cash in on the Browns' turnover. Cleveland ball. The category best team to have never played in the Super Bowl. NFL since '66, the year of Super Bowl I. As you see, all of those teams have not been in a Super Bowl, and the only team over 500 and well over, as you see, the Cleveland Browns. They've been to the playoffs 10 times, but never to the big show.
AFC Championship the last 2 years, losing in the final seconds both times. Would they love it?
Each team has had the ball once. Cleveland has it now at its own 38-yard line. Fontenot and Biner are the running backs as Kosar goes to the air. And he hits Ozzie Newsome, the tight end, and Ozzie has now made a catch in 142 consecutive games behind only Steve Largent.
Sometimes Ozzie Newsome has needed a catch like this to keep that streak alive. And one of the big questions in Cleveland is whether or not this is going to be Ozzie Newsome's last year. And I think that's smart. Start the ball game off early, get him the ball. This guy is still capable of being a productive member of the receiving corps. I think for the game last week in Dallas, a superb leaping catch to keep a drive going. A lot of football still left in Ozzie Newsome.
Find out early, Dan, if they're going to cover him with a linebacker, and they did. They had Hugh Green on him then. We'll see him again.
2nd and 7. Biner through the middle, and a first down as Ernest moves out to the 50-yard line. He's stopped by the outside linebacker, Rick Graff, number 99.
You know, Al, we put up that graphic a minute ago about the Brownies and them having a winning record and not having been to the Super Bowl. It's kind of a good news, bad news, good news scenario for Cleveland this year. The good news is that they have it in their destiny to make the playoffs. The bad news is it's going to have to be as a wild card team. But the good news for Cleveland is that Denver isn't going to be in the playoffs this year, because Denver the last 2 years have sent the Brownies home with some superb football.
Denver and Washington both eliminated yesterday. First time ever both Super Bowl participants failed to make the playoffs the next year. Kosar on first down, looking for 10 more, and the pass is complete, and we'll see about forward progress as it appears it's just short of the first down. The catch made by Brian Brennan. It'll be second down and about a half a yard.
Oh, what a beautiful pass by Kosar against William Judson, who had perfect position on Brennan. Brennan's not fast. He's a possession receiver, and Judson was all over him. Now watch this. Judson covers him right like a blanket, hooking him a little bit, plays him to the outside. That ball is in the air right there. It was in the air actually before he broke to the outside.
And so what amounts to a free play on second down and inches, with Slaughter in the game for the first time in 8 weeks. At the top of the screen to the left. And Kosar will take advantage of this free play to go deep for Fontenot, but much too deep. And he was well covered on the play. It'll be third down. Bud Brown with the coverage on Herman Fontenot.
It's a good look there of Bernie Kosar thinking that Fontenot's going to make his break back to the outside, but you're right. The good coverage by Bud Brown prevented that. And in a stadium that has normally been filled with Dan Marino's footballs flying everywhere, it's Bernie Kosar, I think, taking the Dolphins a little bit by surprise going to the aerial game early. I think a lot of people thought the Browns would just try to hammer it at the Dolphins, who are somewhat susceptible to the run, but instead it's Kosar throwing.
In a way, he's coming home, Bernie. A great start at the University of Miami. Third down and a short yard. And Biner can't find that short yard. It proves a little too long, and it's going to be 4th and inches as T.J. Turner helped to bottle him up.
Good play by Turner that time. Penetration is the key on short yardage. Bottom of your screen. Watch T.J. Turner fight through, stay down on all fours, and get up just high enough to make the tackle.
And against this porous defense of Miami, 26th in the league against the rush, Marty Schottenheimer is going to go early here on 4th down.
And he brings Manoa back in as a fullback in the eye with Biner the tailback. And sends Fontenot in motion to provide leverage on the left side, and through the middle he goes and doesn't have it. Ernest Biner racked up by T.J. Turner and the rest of the defensive line.
And listen to the crowd at Joe Robbie Stadium. They have not seen a short yardage stand like this in a while. They enjoy it. Again, it's penetration. Which side of the line of scrimmage is this game being played on? A good look of them not going offside. The lead block, Manoa. Biner, not even close. Miami winning the war up front.
Goodyear Blimp Enterprise, high above Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami, which will be the site of the Super Bowl on the 22nd of January. 6 weeks from yesterday. Miami taking over. Holding on down. First down, Dolphins at their own 41-yard line. Marino to throw. And the catch is made on the far side by Freddie Banks. He's the man taking the spot normally occupied by Mark Duper. He began his career with the Browns in 1985.
Played most of it on injured reserve. Started 5 games for Cleveland in 85 and injured again in 86. They waived him, and Miami picked him up. He has a lot of moves. He has a lot of speed and great leaping ability. It fits into the mold of the Dolphin receivers. Clayton, the Dupers, 5'10", 180-pounder.
Clayton, bottom of the screen. He's having a fabulous year. That's Jensen now coming into the slot as Edmonds, the tight end, lines up on the left side. And the ball is given to Ron Davenport. Davenport's been coming on of late. He's played well over the past 3 or 4 weeks after a very slow start this year. Clay Matthews in on the tackle. And we have him isolated.
Clay Matthews, of course, I think anyone that follows Cleveland realizes that Matthews is playing Pro Bowl caliber football. I could say once again. They are using Clay much more against the pass. As a matter of fact, he has got 6 of the Cleveland sacks. So he's in there much more often than he's been in the past.
2nd and 9. Miami at the Cleveland 46. No score. Davenport again, and racked up behind the line of scrimmage by Will Hill, the safety coming through, the free agent out of Bishop College. Will Hill dropping him behind the line of scrimmage. And a marker is down, our first one of the game. This crew led by the referee Dick Hantack. And we'll get the call from him in a moment.
We have delay on the defense, 12 men on the field. We have holding on the offense, number 65. Penalties are all set. Repeat the down, second down.
12 men on the field, and then Dellenbach, the guilty Dolphin. And they repeat the down.
Dellenbach caught holding 3 times against Indianapolis last week. And I'm not sure that Will Hill might not have been the 12th guy on the field. He was lined certainly free, wasn't he? Up on the line of scrimmage. Yeah, he certainly was unaccounted for as far as the Dolphins were concerned.
Well, they had 12 men on that play. On a punt run back last week, they had 9 guys on the field.
Now we thought it was 12 in Houston, didn't we?
Yep. 2nd and 9, and the catch is made by Ron Davenport, who has a first down at the 36-yard line, and the tackle made by Felix Wright. Otherwise, you would have had 10 or 15 more yards.
Once again, that offensive line just, first they take a quick drop, and then they just blow up into the rusher's space, and they get Marino just 2-3 seconds, and he just releases it. A good look at it here. Watch this offensive line of the Miami Dolphins. They are leading the league with only 7 sacks of the quarterback. Now, that is not only on pace to lead the league this year, that is on pace to become the all-time best in the National Football League. I'll give you a little more on it after this play.
1st and 10 from the 35-yard line. And Marino throws it away. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Dan Marino, coming into tonight's ball game, had thrown the ball 525 times. He's only been sacked 6 times. One of their sacks came against Ron Jaworski, who's only thrown the ball 4 times and got sacked 1 of those 4 times. The NFL record, as you can see, shared by the Cardinals of 75 and the 49ers of 1970, is 8 games. Now, those were in 14-game seasons, and nobody threw the ball anywhere near the amount of times that Marino has thrown. It's an incredible statistic.
Well, they told me about the Cardinals in 75 as the catch is made by Clayton on 2nd and 10 with some nifty footwork. He has the first down of the 22. That Cardinal 75 team, they were able to do that mainly because of Dobler and Banks, they tell me.
Yeah, well, needless to say, the people you've been talking to, as is the hallmark of your career, don't know what's going on. That's Dobler and Banks he's been talking about.
Take that, Conrad.
I'm going to guess that in the year that we had 8 sacks, that Jimmy Hart threw the ball somewhere in the 300s. Here we have Dan Marino, who will end up the season, who knows, maybe close to 600 attempts. And to stop and think that they're on a pace to have 7 sacks for the year, it really boggles the mind.
And over 4,000 yards. First down at the 21-yard line. Davenport looks for some room and gets pushed back after a gain of a yard or so by Dave Grayson.
Of course, their run blocking is a source of concern. When we talked to Don Shula this morning, the Dolphins incredibly averaging less than 74 yards a game running the football. I can remember as a player, 150 yards a game was always your goal. It was something you wanted to achieve because you knew if you ran it for 150 yards, you were controlling it, you were eating up the clock. Less than 74 is really unacceptable.
2nd and 8, 19-yard line, 5:10 to play. First quarter, no score. And Marino throws it off the fingertips of the tight end, Farrell Edmonds, the good-looking rookie from Maryland, and he can fly. Dave Grayson covering. 3rd down.
Isn't it true, Dan, wouldn't you say, though, an offensive line like the Miami Dolphins, like any offensive line that blocks well, they block well in the scheme for the Miami Dolphins, and that is to pass the football with Dan Marino. They're not necessarily good run blockers. It's a different technique, a different style altogether. No, and I'm going to add one more thing about what the Dolphins have done. This is after the loss of Dwight Stevenson, one of the great centers that ever played the game of football and the leader of this football team.
Who hasn't played all season. 3rd down and 8 at the 19-yard line, and Marino fires over the middle and incomplete, intended for Scott Grady.
Oh, a nice coverage by Brian Washington. Brian Washington, the strong safety of the Browns, right there.
Boy, good coverage, good timing and anticipation by Washington. Look at the delivery. It's right there, and he makes contact with Schwades the moment the ball gets there and disrupts it. This is a marvelous secondary for the Cleveland Browns. Dixon, Minifield, Wright, and Washington. That's as good a secondary as there is in the league.
Now,
two corners on the way to the Pro Bowl.
Now Reves, who missed a 55-yarder, this one a 37-yard attempt, and this one is deflected wide to the left. So Reves is 0 for 2. Dolphins can't capitalize after an early turnover on the Manoa fumble, and good field position here, and Cleveland gets the ball back with 4:54 to play in a scoreless first quarter off the hand of Sam Clancy.
And Sam Clancy, watch the right hand up in the air, and keep in mind that Clancy is 6'7", and that's exactly what you're going to do. And look at that, he's about the only one of the Browns that has his hands in the proper position and gets just a fingertip on the ball. And Kurt Schottenheimer, the special teams coach of the Browns and brother of Marty, and he likes it.
From the 20 now, Cleveland with the ball for the third time, and Kosar goes too deep for Webster Slaughter, and he was blanketed by William Judson, staying with him step for step. Slaughter with a broken forearm early in the season. It's the first time he's been in a game in almost 2 months. He hurt himself on the 16th of October.
And you could see that big pad that he still wears on his left forearm, and that is a handicap for a wide receiver. But Webster Slaughter, a big play kind of receiver, and a guy the Browns very much need at this time of the season. But it'll be interesting to see how that affects his ability to control the football once he gets near it.
He comes out. Schottenheimer saying yesterday he wants him in there for about a dozen plays tonight. Langhorne and Weathers are the wide receivers on 2nd and 10. And Fontenot goes in motion. Draw to Biner, and he turns what would have been a loss into a 4-yard gain out to the 24-yard line. It'll be 3rd and 6. 4.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Well, as you look at Mike Singletary, the Chicago Bears have already clinched, as you know, the NFC Central. They go to the Metrodome next Monday night as we wrap up the regular season. The Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, 2 top teams in the NFC Central. Vikings, believe it or not, have not mathematically clinched a wild card berth. And before you get too upset in the Twin Cities, there's almost no way they won't go, but they have not mathematically clinched. 3rd and 6 as the catch is made by Biner out to the 35-yard line. He is stopped there by David Fry.
Hey, when you start getting into the tiebreakers, to keep the Vikings out, you get into earthquakes.
Well, before anybody has a heart attack in Minnesota, about 5 different things would have to happen for the Vikings not to get in, including the Vikings losing by about 50 points to the Bears and the Eagles beating Dallas by 50 and that sort of thing. And
Something tells me after Sunday's loss to the Packers, no one in Minneapolis, St. Paul is going to take anything for granted.
Right.
Who would have thunk it? Congratulations, though, to Lindy Infante and his Packers.
First down, Cleveland at the 35-yard line. Kosar throws underneath to Newsom. He makes his 2nd catch of the game and takes it to the 40-yard line. That's a gain of close to 5. It'll be 2nd and 5. Rick Raft is in on the stop.
How about that throwing motion of Bernie Kosar when he first released the ball there? I thought he was throwing it in the ground, getting rid of it to try to avoid taking a sack. The sidearm delivery of Bernie Kosar. It is not textbook. Only the results seem to be textbook. And 5 of 7 will get it done.
2nd and 6. Cleveland at the 40. 2.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. No score in Miami. Langhorne in motion. Kosar under pressure and sacked at the 33-yard line by Brian Soche.
Dolphins coming with the blitz. 4 men out for the Browns. Not enough men to pick up. Soche from the middle. Opperdahl coming from the linebacker position.
When you go into that wide formation, let's take a look at it here. This is not Bernie Kosar's strength. And as a matter of fact, you saw him stumble when he went back, and you can see Bernie never even looked downfield. He stumbled coming back out and never once even raised his eyes downfield into coverage.
3rd and 12 out of the shotgun. Inside handoff to Biner. And Biner breaks a couple of tackles, but is stopped well short of the first down at the 41-yard line by T.J. Turner. And the Browns will have to kick it away. And the Browns, who had not used the shotgun, went to it when Kosar came back in midseason.
Dolphins defense gets the crowd on his feet. They come off. They got a sack. That's only the 24th of the year, and they stop the Browns in midfield.
Max Runniger to kick. Scott Schwade's back for Miami. It's a good kick. Schwade's fielding at the 12-yard line. And he's out of bounds at the 27 after a 15-yard run back. Tackle is made by Felix Wright. 46-yard kick. 1:11 to go in the first quarter at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. Browns and Dolphins scoreless.
Laterals back to Tony Nathan, who in turn flips the ball from the 27 back to Duper at the 26. And Duper advances to the 10. Now you make the call. Where do you spot the ball?
Hello? Need a shipping date? Yeah, oh, hold on a second. Hello? You want research? Yo, price change?
The IBM Personal System 2
Research here. All trends are up.
runs today's most popular business program
Shipping. Be out in 10 days.
with superior graphics and speed.
The price on that? The price is $89.99.
No wonder it's today's fastest-selling computer. The Personal System 2 family, part of the bigger picture from IBM.
What call did you make? Since Nathan's intended lateral was really an illegal forward pass, it's a 5-yard penalty from the spot of the pass. Spot the ball at the 32.
No score at Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami. The championships of the USGA coming your way on Saturday on ABC Sports. And the Mazda champions live at 2 Eastern time this Saturday. Miami with the ball at the 26-yard line. Marino gives it to Lorenzo Hampton, who moves out to the 30-yard line. A gain of 4. And in the Mazda tournament, followed by basketball. The Bruins of UCLA resurging under Jim Harrick, their new coach, against the Tar Heels of North Carolina. Bruins unbeaten against the Tar Heels on college basketball action on ABC at 4 Eastern time Saturday. Resurgent under Jim Harrick. 2nd down and 6 at the 30-yard line. Half a minute to go. First quarter. With Edmonds in motion, Davenport close to a first down, takes it to the 36-yard line. He is stopped there by Clay Matthews on what figures to be the final play of the first period.
You wonder how an outside linebacker could have a more solid career than the one Clay Matthews has had in Cleveland. His 11th year out of Southern California, and watch him play off the block here of Farrell Edmonds, who comes in motion, ride him down to the inside, look for the ball, then react back to the outside. That's the way it's supposed to be done.
Doing it all, too, Dan, with a cast on a broken hand from a couple of weeks ago. Hasn't missed a moment of playing time because of it. Pretty good family. They're pretty solid.
His brother Bruce will be in action against Clay next week. They measure, that stops the clock momentarily with 17 seconds just short of the first down.
How do you think the Browns did in the draft back in 1978? They had 2 #1 choices in 1978, and they only drafted Clay Matthews and Ozzie Newsome. Not altogether a bad way to kick off the 78 draft, huh?
Both in their 11th year. Both making major marks with Cleveland. We said that would probably be the final play of the first quarter, but the clock just now restarts because of the measurement. So the Dolphins could conceivably get off another play, but now they appear to be content to let the clock run out, and they'll reverse direction, and we will start the second period. So a smiling Marino comes to the sideline after the first 15 minutes of play. No score. Back in Miami after this message and a word from your local station.
ABC's Monday Night Football. Brought to you by Limit.
In Miami, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf start the second quarter. 3rd and inches for Miami at the 36-yard line. And Davenport may have gotten those inches with that second effort after the initial contact as he gets it out past the 36-yard line. They needed just a couple of inches. And Dick Hancock signals first down, Dolphins.
Might have been Davenport's 3rd effort that got them the first down. He was hit once, hit twice, and a spin after the second hit is actually what got him the yardage for the first down. Not much in the way of offense when you look at it. You'd expect more from Kosar and Marino. The only turnover, the fumble by Manoah, doesn't really do any damage.
Time of possession about even.
Pretty nondescript numbers.
And no score in the game. Marino with all the time in the world per usual, and it's dropped. Freddie Banks couldn't hold on. He was covered by Hanford Dixon. 2nd and 10.
He was dropped, but it was worth watching. Marino with that quick snap and fired that ball right on a line. And not bad coverage by Dixon.
Well, it was better than not bad. I think it was pretty good, although it should have been a catch. You know, Banks was there, and a receiver like that, Frank, when he gets both hands on the ball.
Well, look at Dixon. He gets a hand right in there.
Yeah.
Banks can't hold on to it.
From that angle, the ball looked higher than it did from the angle before. It would have been a great catch by Freddie. Freddie, I'll give you credit there. That's a tough ball to bring down.
2nd and 10. Marino, after juggling the snap, hits Edmonds, and he can fly once he has the ball, and he's out of bounds at about the 35-yard line. You saw before he's averaging almost 18 yards a catch, and when we say fly for a tight end, that is, but he can really move, and if you saw the game against the Jets a couple of weeks ago, or the highlights, you know what I mean.
Marino almost lost that ball coming away from center, but you're looking at a rising superstar. Marino with the concentration. He has Edmonds in the flat, breaking clear, and he does have great speed. We watched him preseason go 80 yards for a touchdown.
Here's what I don't understand, Frank. You weigh 248 pounds. Why continue to head for the sideline? I mean, if I'm as big as Farrell Edmonds, even though I'm bigger, I'd head back for the middle of the field and take on Washington. Why box yourself into the sideline?
He's learning. At the 35-yard line, Washington was thankful that he kept heading for the sideline.
Yeah. Don't you think, Frank, that's the first thing you're going to tell him is, what the heck are you doing going out of bounds? Stay in the field and challenge the guy.
But one of the positive things that we talked to Don Shula about today was this man.
Oh.
And they were stunned when he happened to be available in the 3rd round. And the Dolphins, of course, have not been drafting all that well, but they got Edmonds in the 3rd round. And he just keeps coming on. There was a lot of things he had to learn, and one of them perhaps is what you just mentioned. As big as he was, as fast as he is, he breaks that back inside. He might have taken it all the way.
Well, coming into tonight's ball game, he had 29 receptions. That was number 30. But the guy has an 18-yard average on his catches. Those are big play, big-time numbers for a tight end.
2nd and 10 as Davenport picks up about 2, taking it to the 33-yard line. And Michael Dean Perry, the Bridges brother, number 92, is in on the tackle.
What you can't do with an Edmonds, and it's what the Dolphins have been trying to do thus far this evening with Ozzie Newsome, is to cover him with a linebacker. And if they continue to try to do that with Edmonds, you're going to see him do something like a down and into the middle, and he should be there. Big target, 6'6", Farrell Edmonds.
3rd and 8, Miami at the Cleveland 33. Early 2nd quarter, no score. Marino out of the shotgun. 4 wide receivers for the Dolphins, including Troy Stratford is in the game in the slot to the left. And the catch is made by Banks. Stopped at the 10-yard line as he got behind Minifield, and Wright is there to put him down, and it's a first down at the 10.
Great read by Marino. Picked up the zone. Banks picked up the read with him. Eased into the slot. He was wide open again. That protection, but look how quickly he fires it.
Well, watch the body control here by Freddie Banks. Going up, that ball is behind him and high. Freddie Banks is moving to the inside. Dan puts the ball a little high and a little behind Banks. Look at him do the pivot and come around and bring down the football. That is nice.
1st and 10, Miami at the 11-yard line. Marino off the fake, fires too high over the middle, intended for Jim Jensen, Mr. Everything, at the goal line. Jensen can be a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end. He's the backup quarterback, plays on special teams, engaged to one of the Dolphin cheerleaders, cleans out the stadium, takes tickets.
He's been doing it all. He found a way to make a football team. Those 47 receptions, so many of them were third down and key receptions.
He's also the backup kick snapper.
Don't let Joe Robbie hear you talking about cleaning up the stadium and selling tickets. He'll have him doing it.
He'll take me literally. 2nd and 10 at the 11. Over the middle, the catch is made. Clayton for a touchdown.
Oh, and Mark just loses a couple $100 as he launches the ball up into the stands.
I think Marino will pop in about half of it. Clayton with a great effort. Marino had to drill that ball. A super effort on the part of Clayton to come down with it. That was smoking on his fingertips. Gets away at the line of scrimmage from Menifeld. He passes him on. Matthews is there, 57, splitting the two defensive safeties, and Marino throwing it in there so nobody's going to get a hand on it.
And a milestone touchdown for Dan Marino, the 193rd touchdown pass of his career, breaks his tie with Bob Greasy. Revese's extra point is good.
Of course, Dan Marino has eclipsed Bob Greasy's Dolphin record in his 6th year, when it took Bob 14 seasons to do it. Safe to say the NFL has never seen a quarterback quite the equal of Dan Marino and his ability to throw the football.
7-0, Dolphins.
With a lot of ties to Ohio. He was born in Grand River, Ohio, went to John Carroll University, and was drafted by the Cleveland Browns in 1951. He played with the Browns, the Baltimore Colts, and the Washington Redskins, and became an NFL head coach at Baltimore at the age of 33.
Miami taking the lead early in the 2nd quarter, 7-0. Glenn Young returns the kick from the 4 out to the 29-yard line with 12:02 to play in the first half. Joe Robbie Stadium. Well, we talked about Dan Marino and the fact that he's done it in less than 6 years. Greasy with 192, Frank over 14 years. The offense a little bit different, though, these days.
I would say so. And you look around and you're Dan Marino, you have not had in your 6 years while you've been here a zonka and a kick and that tremendous offensive line they had for run blocking.
Oh, and look at the difference in the rules and the way the secondary could play. Quarterbacks back then went to look at a receiver, and he was flat on the ground because back then it was legal to cut them at the line of scrimmage. The game has indeed changed radically in the quarterback's favor.
And blocking for the offensive line for the passer. There's a punch out there now.
Kosar to the air on 1st down, under pressure, intended for Slaughter. Flag is thrown to the disbelief of the Dolphins. William Judson is the guilty party.
And here comes the argument that the ball wasn't catchable.
Well, he didn't mug him, but he did bump into it.
It may be overruled. Let's see.
Pass interference. Defense, number 26. First down.
And it's a good call. There's no doubt that it's a good call, although I believe the call is against William Judson, number 49. But watch right here. Watch him move back into Slaughter right there and hit him, and then the ball hits his hands. I don't think there's any doubt that that's the proper call. That's interference all the way.
Prevented Slaughter from an opportunity to go for it.
I just don't know how Jarvis Williams got called for the penalty. Number 26, actually, it's on Judson, 49.
Neither does Shula. 43-yard line. Tony Baker is in the game as a running back. He has never carried the ball as a Brown until now, as he goes to the outside. And Baker's first ever Cleveland carry is for a first down. And one problem the Browns have had is getting somebody to the outside. And with Kevin Mack hurt tonight in particular, Viner likes to run north and south. So does Manoa. Fontenot as well. Here's a guy who can take it wide.
Marty Schottenheimer was very candid about it. He said, we're going to get Baker in there because we can't get Mack in there. He can get to the outside. We're going to give him the toss because we anticipate Miami thinking with us. They know that Kevin Mack can't go, so they're going to pinch everything down. That's what the Dolphins have been doing. Big game by Baker.
Tony Baker on the injured reserve list all of last year and inactive much of this season. That's Fontenot in motion. And and this time it's Biner. Picking up about 5 to the 39-yard line. Mark Brown and Rick Graff converge on the stop.
You know, getting back to Tony Baker and what the Browns are looking for from him. He spent all of last year on injured reserve because of a wrist injury, and he hasn't played this year because he had arthroscopic knee surgery back during training camp. So this is a player that, in reality, the rest of the league knows nothing about. Free agent last year out of East Carolina. And there's Tony Baker. Looks like he might have a little explosiveness.
He carried the ball once for the Falcons in 1986. He was their 10th round draft choice. 2nd and 5 at the 39. Kosar, as the pressure is on, has to throw incomplete. Jackie Klein forced him to get rid of it, and to the turf as well. 3rd and 5.
Boy, and Klein hits Kosar right from behind. I mean, he's coming from the blind side. Here's Klein right here. Just watch the rush, but watch how he hits Kosar in the back.
Kosar never sees number 98.
He gets around
field.
He gets around Larry Williams, and then another hit from the other side by T.J. Turner, and there's the old double whammy on Bernie Kosar.
Frankly, Klein let up on it.
Might have been that extra little shot by Turner that really jarred him.
3rd and 5 out of the shotgun from the 39-yard line. Good protection this time, and over the middle, Biner wide open, touchdown, Ernest Biner.
Oh, he was open.
A running back lined up at wide receiver you wouldn't think would get that wide open. This time, actually, Biner's lined up in the backfield and comes out, circles out of the backfield, and just a blown coverage by the Dolphins.
Got himself locked up with Bud Brown, a strong safety not known for great man-for-man coverage, and Biner they use a lot on the outside, as they do Fontenot. He was wide open.
Good luck trying to figure out who was supposed to have him. David Fry was the closest of the Miami Dolphins, but Ernest Biner just all alone. Someone in a blue-green jersey made a major error.
But nobody picked him up after he sprinted by Fry.
Matt Barr with the extra point. That's good. Biner, the team's leading receiver. That's his 50th catch of the season, but his first touchdown reception of the year. And it ties the game at 7-7 with 10:08 to play in the first half.
Linebackers and backfield men, the linebacker will lose it every time.
Cleveland on top, or Cleveland tying the game 7-7. Funny, the top, Frank mentioned that a Cleveland victory tonight really doesn't do anything in terms of putting Cleveland in the playoffs, but it puts Houston in the playoffs.
That is interesting, and they meet, of course, next Sunday, and of course Indianapolis interested because also a Cleveland win tonight, and that's it for Indianapolis for the year as far as the playoffs are concerned.
We'll clear it up, or try to at halftime, as Joe Cribbs returns the kick out to the 14-yard line. And if you're wondering where's Joe Cribbs, here he is in Miami. He's been around Buffalo and San Francisco, and then he went to Indianapolis briefly, and he winds up with the Dolphins about 6 weeks ago.
A couple of big 1,000-yard seasons for Buffalo.
He only carried the ball 5 times, though, for Miami so far this year, and really doesn't figure into their offense for the balance of the year, and you really have to wonder about what the future holds in store for Joe Cribbs as far as playing in this league.
First down for Miami from the 14-yard line. Game time 7-7. Davenport pulls his way out to the 21. He is stopped there by Frank Minifield after a pickup of 6, 2nd and 4. You wonder about this entire Miami running game, Dan, in terms of the draft, and the fact that one of the things Miami will look for in all probability is a big back, a feature back.
And you look at that graphic about Marino, he'll break that possibly tonight if he has just anywhere near an ordinary night. And Frank and Al, you're exactly right. That's got to be priority number 1 for the Dolphins, is that big running back. Without that guy, they're really not going to effectively rush the football.
2nd and 4. Davenport picks up about 3. They've been going with Lorenzo Hampton, a #1 draft choice a few years back, but he really hasn't developed into the type of runner they thought he would. Troy Stratford had a good rookie year, but he's been off injured this year, had the flu this week. He doesn't appear to be the ultimate answer, so they're definitely in the market for a top back.
If you're looking for a top back, you have to also, Dan, look at their defense. I mean, it's, you know, they put up 34 points 2 weeks ago against the Jets when they got beat 38-34.
But, you know, as far as the way the Dolphins have addressed their defense, you know, their last 3 high draft choices have all gone defensively. 3 years ago, it was John Offerdahl, a second-rounder, was their first, and then John Boza and Eric Kumaro. So they've drafted defensively. They just haven't gotten any better.
3rd and 1, and they pitch it to Davenport. Going to the outside, he fumbles. And at the 19, the Browns have the ball. Eddie Johnson comes up with it, but they're going to whistle it down at the 26-yard line, and the penalty marker is down as well.
There's a flag on the field, and I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. And I'm not sure how this is going to affect either one of these two clubs. It's up in the air now.
Paul Bates was in the discussion with Dick Hantak. Holding is the call.
And that was a fumble. It came out.
Holding. Offense. Penalty is declined. First down.
And the ball does indeed belong to Eddie Johnson.
This is where we'll get the best look at it from the far side of the field.
Look at him carry that ball with one hand, though. Now he tries to put it away, but it's just too late.
But look at Hanford Dixon. Look where he put his helmet, right on the football. You saw Tim Manoa fumble earlier where the ball just came out from casual contact. That is how you force a fumble. Hanford Dixon putting the orange helmet right on the football. That's the way you jar it loose.
First down, Browns at the 20. Baker and Biner are the running backs. Last time Baker was in the game, they pitched it to him, swinging wide to the right. This time they give it to him straight up the middle, and he threads his way for a gain of about 4 to the 16-yard line. Hugh Green in on the tackle.
Another look at the fumble by Davenport, and from the left, watch Hanford Dixon. Now you can see the ball's out there in one hand, and Davenport never does get a chance to cradle it right up against his body, Frank. Never got it really what you would call tucked into that proper position and put away, and there's Eddie Johnson right there. But a superb play by, well, you'd expect it from Hanford Dixon, a perennial Pro Bowler.
So many good backs carry like that, but you've got to get it away, and he never did have it tucked away before he was hit.
2nd and 6. 7.5 minutes to go in the half. The game tied 7-7. Intended for Langhorne. 3rd down. Langhorne's done a nice job, especially in the absence of Slaughter. It's given Reggie a chance to be the featured receiver in the Browns attack. And the Browns have had to rely on their passing game with Kosar and their defense because their running game has been subpar this year. Inside the 20, tough sledding for Cleveland. And part of it has to do with the running game being subpar. As you can see, they're worst in the league once they get inside the 20 for putting the ball in the end zone. And whistles blowing with 3rd and 5. Head linesman stopping play for the moment. Hantak tells us about
Timeout. Miami.
I think Miami.
First timeout.
I think Miami only had 10 men on the field. I don't think they had a full complement of players on the field.
That's Tom Olivedati there on the right of Don Shula. He's the defensive coach, and he was the one that was telling Shula, we got to get some more folks out there. And Don quickly seizes the moment to call timeout.
Tough enough with 11.
Oh, yeah.
Any timeout. Cleveland has it 3rd down 6 at the 15-yard line. 7:25 to go. First half. A 7-7 tie.
Dolphins blitzed last time. Let's see if they come with extra people.
Kosar out of the shotgun. And they do. They rush 5, and Kosar off his back foot, and falling down in the end zone was Langhorne. Lankford covering. 4th down.
Boy, and there was no contact there whatsoever. I believe Reggie Langhorne just became tangled up in his own feet, and I think he had to get back because of a pass that was really poorly thrown by Bernie Kosar.
Got the coverage you wanted because they had a safety blitz.
Look at his break to the outside there, and look where the ball goes. miscommunication between Langhorne and Kosar. Langhorne expecting the ball over his outside shoulder, and Bernie throwing it back to the middle of the field.
Matt Barr, who broke a rib last week on a busted field goal attempt, or a fake attempt that was busted by Ron Burton, kicks this one through. He did stay in the game last week, continued to kick, and boots a 33-yard field goal here to give Cleveland its first advantage of the night. And again, it's Cleveland bogging down inside the 20-yard line.
And it's helped Matt Barr considerably, that bogging down inside the 20. He's having a great year.
As far as memorable moments are concerned, here's Matt Barr.
You want to use explicatives whenever you say your most memorable moment. You know, whether it's winning the Super Bowl was nice and making the teams nice, but I'll have to say my most memorable moment was the first time seeing myself on a bubblegum card.
Easy to please.
Another lofty ambition. Easy to please when you're putting it through the uprights like he has for a long time. And they crank those bubblegum cards out now, don't they?
Think he was serious?
Well, this is not Cleveland, but a lot of fans have come south, scouting out what they hope will be their seat locations for the Super Bowl. Browns feeling right at home with the biscuits littering the end zone. 10-7 Cleveland.
Did not look like a gourmet biscuit.
Kick goes out of bounds before it reaches the goal line, and so Miami can take the football at the 35-yard line.
And this was one of the league's better rule changes, by the way, of not coming back and re-kicking a kickoff that goes out of bounds. Go ahead and let the offensive team take it at the 35-yard line. A suitable penalty has been applied, and it saves everyone a lot of time and trouble.
Particularly the guys that are trying to cover it.
Yeah.
Wednesday night, there's your lineup. Wednesday night, prime time here on ABC. 8 o'clock, 7 Central and Mountain. Free to be a family, followed by the Wonder Years, Hooperman, and China Beach, the Wednesday primetime lineup. 1st and 10, Miami at the 35-yard line. Marino going to the air. And Banks with a nice move to pick up the first down as he makes the catch. And then figures out where the marker was. And for Dixon covering on the play, and they will spot the ball not quite at the first down marker. Looked like he had it for the moment, but the official right on the sideline says, no, you're a couple of inches shy.
Well, whether he made it or not, he made the right move to go for it, and Banks is looking awfully good tonight. Of course, again, mind you, Mark Clayton suspended week before last. NFL's substance abuse policy for 30 days, and of course will take him throughout the season.
2nd and inches at the 45-yard line. And a conservative straight-ahead run by Davenport. That's a first down. Under 7 minutes to play now in the first half.
If you were an offensive coordinator, I'm going to pose this question to the two of you, and you had 2nd down up near midfield, less than a foot for a first down, I really need you to explain that call.
Well, particularly when you are 5-9.
And when you've got Dan Marino as your quarterback.
I just don't get it, and I don't think you do either.
1st and 10 at the 47-yard line. Maybe they got gun-shy when they watched what Cleveland did before. Here's Hampton swinging to the outside. And he picks up about 7. Remember, Cleveland.
Let's check this guy out. Clay Matthews, who spends most of the game taking on the tight end, working against the rookie Farrell Edmonds, and Edmonds gets high and really doesn't stay with Matthews long enough. And again, an illustration of what an outside linebacker is supposed to do. Fight off the block, stay on your feet, pursue, confront the ball carrier, and bring him to the ground.
2nd and 5, 48-yard line. Marino. Terrific protection again. Going deep for Clayton, and incomplete, and good coverage as Dixon might have gotten a hand on the ball.
And the question is whether Dixon got a hand on the receiver before the ball got there.
I think he had a little bit of both. The left hand working on Clayton, the right hand going for the ball, and here he is. Two of the finest man-for-man cornerbacks in the league, and well-timed. You're looking at it in slow motion, and that would be hard to call in slow motion, and if you're seeing it at top speed, no way you're going to call it. It was just a great effort by Hanford Dixon.
No, that's not interference. Great play.
Well, in slow motion, Dixon makes contact with Clayton before the football gets there. But when you are as good as Hanford Dixon, that's the kind of confidence you can play with.
3rd and 5, and they swing it out to Stratford. And Stratford, looking for the first down, is very close. You can see exactly how close. He's run out of bounds by Will Hill.
You know, when we roll a tape like that, like we watched of Dixon and Clayton, we're talking about hundreds of seconds when we say you can see the contact before the ball gets there. No official in the world is going to make that call as interference. It just illustrates that as a cornerback, what a big part of your game confidence is. You have to think that a rookie cornerback or a younger guy can't chance that because he's worried that he's going to get the flag. A guy like Hanford Dixon, getting a flag never even crosses his mind. He's going to play his own game.
Meanwhile, it's 4th down. As you look at it in irregular speed, 4th down after Stratford was just short of picking up the first, and diving for the first down now is Lorenzo Hampton to keep the drive alive for Miami. On a 4th and inches play, he takes it to the 41-yard line.
There's a 4th down call. I'm not so sure that Don would have gone for had it not been in a 5 and 9 situation. Of course, he's looking in the last 2 games at a lot of players who, quite frankly, will probably not be here next year. He's wanting to see what they'll do in a situation when they are out of it. If they'll stay in there, they'll give it 100%. He believes that way.
Marino. And much too deep. Clayton had broken it off to the outside. And Dan throws it into the end zone. And again, Marino protected well. We talked about the fact they've been sacked only 7 times this year. The Dolphins have not suffered a sack since the 25th of September, or a week before the regular season ended in baseball. It's been that long.
That's quite frankly one of the reasons he has not been sacked, too. He had fixed in on one receiver. He knew he was covered. He just let it go. He didn't scan the field for another receiver. This guy fired and incomplete.
This guy might only have 25 or 30 sacks if he didn't have any line. I mean, it's virtually impossible to get to Dan Marino and disturb his rhythm.
2nd and 10 from the 41-yard line. And Marino, and that's the first time he's even been hit tonight. The pass is incomplete. As far as I can determine from up here, and this of course would be unofficial, no such stats are kept. I think that's the first time they've even touched Marino tonight.
I love your timing, Dan.
Boy, I cursed him, didn't I? Here's Carl Hairston right on the nose, and that's the quickest way to get to Dan Marino. The penetration right up the middle. It's really tough to get to him around the corners. And really, that's a double team block. Dellenbach and Roy Foster both get a piece of Carl Hairston.
And this actually hit Davenport right in the gut. He should have handled the ball even though Marino was hit.
Boy, and that knocks the wind out of you when that shoulder gets driven right into your solar plexus.
3rd and 10 from the shotgun. Browns rushing 6. And Marino throwing into a lot of traffic and has it picked off at the 11-yard line by the rookie Brian Washington. Took it away from Clayton. Flags go down all over the joint after the play, well after the play.
That's Brian Washington's 3rd interception of the year. And this is one that, you know, we talked about Hanford Dixon having a lot of confidence. This is the kind of a throw the quarterback makes who has a lot of confidence. This is a ball Dan Marino probably shouldn't have thrown.
At a roll and double coverage. Mark Harper is back there with Brian Washington, and right at this point he'd love to have it back. That's Dixon, number 29, Harper, number 23. Now coming from across field, the free safety, Brian Washington, is the nickel worked for Cleveland, and whether or not Marino saw him or not, he didn't see him in time.
And Dan knew the minute he let that thing go that he was in trouble, because Brian Washington really was just standing there waiting for the ball to come down. He only had to react no more than 2 or 3 yards.
And then Troy Stratford got into a scuffle after the play had ended, precipitating 2 penalties. And we'll wait and get Hantak's call here.
Unnecessary roughness. Number 23 on Miami. Unnecessary roughness. Number 29, Cleveland. The penalties are offset. 1st and 10, Cleveland.
That's Troy Stratford and Hanford Dixon.
I guess they figured they weren't big enough to hurt each other. in the world of pro football.
Bradford 5'9", 192. Dixon 5'11", 195. Bantamweight scrap.
These Brown safeties have really come on this year. Felix Wright is playing great football, free safety, as you've watched Brian Washington tonight. And of course, they replaced a couple of pretty good ones. Chris Rockins and Al Gross were there last year. 2 new ones this year, and they performed well.
Browns with 2 scoring drives in the quarter. They lead 10-7. First and 10 from the 13-yard line, and everybody moved except the most important man of all, the center, Riccozzi, who didn't snap it.
Ball start, offense, 5-yard penalty, repeat the down, first down.
10 of them.
Distribute that one around. It doesn't go anywhere without the football, but this is where everyone's on the same page except for the center. You could see Kosar's hands move. He gooses the center. That's asking for the football, and it's really that riding of the hands that really tells that center that it's time to snap it.
I wonder what Riccozzi thought he wanted. That's the standard.
I must ponder that. I mean, really, a center who's been around a long time, regardless of the snap count, when he gets that jerk from the center, the ball comes up immediately.
First and 15 from the 8. Short gain. Biner makes the catch, picks up about 2. It'll be 2nd and 13. Rick Graff makes the tackle with 4:50 to play in the half.
Frank, something you don't see a whole lot anymore is exactly that. Remember how in the old days the quarterbacks used to really be in tune when one of the defensive men came across the line of scrimmage? They never gave him a chance to get back across the line the way they do now. Boy, he hits the center, up comes the football, and regardless of what happens, you know you've picked up at least 5 yards.
And like you said, it has to be total concert between the two.
2nd and 13, Cleveland from the 10. 45-second clock is down to 3, 2, 1, and they just do get the play off. And Kosar throws to the far side, and the catch is made at the 17-yard line by Reggie Langhorne, who is about 6 yards short of the first down. Langford makes the tackle. Spotted at the 18, call it 3rd and 5 now.
This is a secondary that a couple of weeks ago was ripped up by the Jets for over 430 yards and 4 touchdowns in that 38-34 loss to the Jets. Tonight, doing a suitable job against the Browns.
The Dolphins have given up 69 points in the last 2 weeks. 3rd and 5 from the 18. And Kosar's throw is a little low and dropped. Reggie Langhorne covered by Langford.
Again, just good coverage. That ball had to be thrown where Kosar threw the ball because of the coverage by Langford.
And Bernie takes a serious high-low shot. Kosar is lucky that he comes out of that without being injured. He really gets banged back in the pocket. He's going to get it low from the right side. Eric Kumaro comes in, and that's the kind of stuff where a quarterback a lot of times gets injured.
Max Runiger's second punt of the night. Bounces at the 47 and takes a good Miami bounce, and it's down at the 50-yard line by Van Waders. And Miami has 2 timeouts remaining and 3:09 on the clock in the first half, with Cleveland on top 10-7. Coming up at the half, Don Shula in what's been for him his toughest year. And a look at the playoff picture, and we'll try to. Can't promise you anything. We're going to try to clear up a few things and give you some mathematical possibilities and probabilities.
Or maybe we'll just confuse you more.
Probably.
Test your credulity.
Yeah.
1st and 10 at the 50. Marino. Incomplete, intended for Clayton. One thing we'll clear up are a few misconceptions. A lot of people thought on Saturday Indianapolis was eliminated. Wrong. A lot of people thought that the Rams would win the division if they beat the 49ers. Not necessarily this Sunday. So we'll clear up a few things as well.
Well, who was saying those things?
I don't know. You were telling me a few guys were saying them. I was flying yesterday.
Wait till tomorrow. They'll be talking about how we messed them up.
Right.
It is unbelievable, the combinations that are still alive with one game remaining after tonight.
2nd and 10 from the 50. And Lorenzo Hampton makes the catch at the 45-yard line. Dave Grayson in on the tackle. He stays in bounds. Clock keeps running. 2:50 to go in the half.
The one thing we know for sure is that there are probably 10 teams right now that you'd have to say have about an even chance of winning the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know that there's one team right now that stands out head and shoulders above everyone else. I can hardly remember when it's been this wide open before.
I think a dynasty in this league right now is 3 wins in a row.
Perhaps Green Bay is on the way.
3rd and 5 at the 45-yard line. Out of the shotgun, they give the ball to Stratford, who bounces off one tackler and then takes it close to a first down. He's just short of the 40. It's going to be 4th and inches.
And the young man playing hurt tonight, Troy Stratford, who had a great rookie year a year ago. In trouble all season long with nagging injuries and was questionable whether he could even play tonight.
And he was in the hospital Saturday and fed intravenously yesterday with the flu. Shula can ponder the options at the 2-minute warning. Twilight zone.
Like a shot of our opening.
Yeah, that's right. Where's the pinball? Coming to you from the Goodyear Blimp Enterprise.
Nice night considering what's going on up in the Northeast.
Yeah. Ronnie Lee, the right tackle of the Dolphins, came off the field. You saw him down on the turf. He walked off by himself, and Lewis Cheek, the 8th-round draft choice from Texas A&M, replaces him in the lineup.
It's 4th and 1 for Miami with 2 minutes to go in the half. They send Jensen in motion and run the play fake with a first down pass caught and then dropped, but out of bounds by Edmonds. Mark Harper covering on the play, but he had control. Edmonds has been prone to fumbling in the past couple of weeks. He's fumbled 3 times, but if you're going to fumble out of bounds, which he does here.
And he fumbled backwards, and he's lucky that he had enough forward progress that when the ball came back a couple of yards, it gave him still enough yardage for the first down.
You know, it's funny, he's a rookie, and we sung his praises earlier. He's already fumbled more times in his rookie year than his opposite number, Ozzie Newsome of Cleveland, has in his entire career.
Well, if he can rectify that problem, I still don't think there's any doubt that we're looking at one of the future greats of this game.
From the 37-yard line, from the shotgun, Jensen makes the catch, breaks the tackle, a first down and a lot more. Finally tackled by Felix Wright at the 13-yard line. And timeout Miami, their second.
And he's just covered one-on-one.
They didn't get the timeout. You saw Jensen ask for it, and the Dolphins then waved it off. So Jensen does not get the timeout that he asked for. A flag is thrown. He makes the catch. That'll stop the clock at the 5. Pressure put on that time by Hairston. And a minute and 24 left on the clock. Hairston jumped that time. Offside.
A lot of times in that hurry-up type of offense where there's a lot of frantic movement, it's the offensive team that ends up making the mistake. That time, though, it's a defensive lineman, Hairston, who ends up crossing the line of scrimmage.
Defense, number 78, 5-yard penalty. Repeat the down, first down.
Hairston might be a little tentative. He's playing on a bad knee. Missed last week's game. But Jensen, good out of the backfield. He came on that long gainer for the first down from a wingback position. They tried to cover him with a speedy linebacker, David Grayson. He couldn't handle it.
First and goal at the 8. Jensen takes it to the 1-yard line.
You got to get overtime for tonight.
2. You saw Jensen before. It was interesting. He had called for the timeout after that long run. Now they're going to take the timeout. Marino had waved it off, so it wasn't called. And they take one here and have one remaining.
The thing about Jensen is that you can be deceived by his number 11, and you say, well, anybody with number 11, we can't be talking about a real formidable person here. But, you know, Jensen's listed at 6'4", 220, and when you see him down on the field before the game, he looks a lot bigger than that to me. I mean, this is a big man.
Here he is running the ball, and more than that, Dan, he's a tough man. A few years ago when he came up as a quarterback out of Boston University, he could see pretty well he was not going to get a shot at making this team there and staying with the team. He could do it as a backup. So he started going down under kickoffs, covering punts. He would do anything they wanted him to do, and they discovered they not only had a good backup quarterback, but a great athlete.
I'm going to speculate that might be the biggest number 11 that's ever played in the National Football League. That's a big hunk of guy.
First and goal, ball at the 2. And Marino lossing it for Jensen.
What a beautiful offensive strategy. Beautiful. They come out late with Jensen. Who do they see come with him? Dan Marino watches all the way. It's Mike Junkin, an inside linebacker. Marino knows instantly that's the matchup I want. Junkin, 54, comes all the way out of the middle. He's just totally overmatched on a route like that. I mean, that's brilliant offensive play calling and execution by Dan Marino and the Dolphins.
And, of course, coming from the bench, give credit to David Shula, but again, Junkin totally outclassed on a beautifully thrown ball by Marino. Great timing pass.
Marino to Jensen was the key to that touchdown. 4 consecutive plays to Jensen and the extra point, and it's 14-10 Miami. Couple of passes to Jensen and a run by Jensen and a pass to Jensen for the touchdown.
That's a good way to get off the kickoff coverage team.
Well, he'll stay on anyway. Talked about Jensen before. Backup quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back. He'll snap for you. And so the Cleveland Browns now find themselves trailing by 4 with 1:11 to go in the half.
Look at what we're talking about. Here's Jensen right here. Watch him come all the way across the formation. The one thing Dan Marino wants to see, who's going to cover him? Here's the guy. Mike Junkin's going to come all the way over, and the minute Dan Marino sees that, he knows he's got the matchup he's looking for. You'd think one of the defensive backs would come out with Jensen, but as soon as he looks over there, you can see him glancing to the right all the way. He knows he's got the matchup he wants with the inside linebacker. There's a touchdown.
Boy, you see that in replay, and you're exactly right, Dan. I don't know what he had called, but he saw Junkin come across there. He hit it right on the head, and as soon as he saw Junkin covering, he waved to out in the flat to Jensen, and an easy 6.
No, this guy's been around here. when he sees that matchup, his cash register starts ringing right off the bat. Ding, ding, ding. He's got one.
194 for Marino now, and just to put it in perspective, that's as many as Ken Stabler threw in his entire career with the Raiders. Kick comes to the 9-yard line. Gerald McNeil, the Ice Cube, is run out of bounds at the 30. Browns have it there with 1:05 and all 3 timeouts remaining. 14-10 Miami. Some news from College Station, Texas. Jackie Sherrill, who had been under some fire down there, has resigned as the head coach at Texas A&M. R.C. Slocum has taken over now as the head football coach of the Aggies, and John David Crow has been named as the athletics director at his alma mater.
Former great Cardinal. Great running back.
Heisman Trophy winner, too, wasn't he?
Yep. First down from the 31-yard line is Kosar. Goes to Biner, and he's tackled immediately by David Fry, the linebacker, up at the 36-yard line. Again, Cleveland with all of its timeouts, but they don't take one here. 48-47, clock ticking down.
We have just discovered a big number 11.
Well, you knew it would happen.
Oh, yeah.
Catch is made, and a fumble, and Miami has it at the 49-yard line. Out of Langhorne's hands, and Miami has it as Judson comes up with the football at the 49 with 32 seconds. It was David Fry knocking it loose.
Kosar steps right back into the pocket, fires it in, gets the completion, and again, just good, solid hitting. That's David Fry. And Miami has 32 seconds. They're at the 50-yard line, and they are a hot ball club right now.
And if you're in the Browns secondary, you batten the hatches. Guess what's coming? Dan Marino.
And Miami has a timeout remaining. Out of the shotgun. Marino's man Jensen lines up in the backfield with him. And the pass is caught by Clayton. And he's to the 29-yard line. He's tackled by Dave Grayson, a first down. They have one timeout. Marino lines up out of the shotgun. Clock down to 14, 13 and ticking. And from the 29, Marino over the middle, sets him up in field goal range. Jensen takes it to the 18, and they'll stop the clock and bring in Robbie.
What a read by this man. On the play before this last one, the Browns brought 4 men. They dropped into a deep zone coverage. Clayton took it deep, turned in. He drilled the zone. This last play, they brought 6 men. He threw it underneath, threw it quickly, and gets to the next completion.
Well, Frank, you're exactly right, because when the Brownies drop back into a zone, he works to the wide receiver underneath. They come back and go man coverage on all his wide receivers. Marino reads it instantly and goes to Jensen to back out of the backfield. I mean, it's just classic way. It's a classic way to run a quick offense like that.
And a milestone pass at 4,000 yards, up and over that figure. First time ever that a quarterback has done it 4 different seasons. As Marino does it here, he's thrown for 189.5. Robbie to attempt a 35-yard field goal. Ron Jaworski, the backup to Marino, to hold. Robbie's missing 2 tonight, 1 from 55. The other was partially deflected by Clancy. And this time it is good. And it's like the old days for this crowd at Joe Robbie Stadium. The way the Dolphins have finished this first half. And they do it with a flourish. A 5-game losing streak, and they've clinched last place, but you'd never know it. Joe Robbie Stadium erupts. 17-10 Miami at the half. We'll return to Miami after this message from the NFL. A word about an upcoming show on ABC, and a word from your local station. Coming up, an interview with Joe Robbie